That's right, under the Teflon and the O-rings, Jose Fernandez gets to face the Tampa Bay Rays. This is where Jose used to come to watch Major League Baseball when he first arrived in the United States. And it's the Rays and the Marlins who finish off a 3-game series. The Rays have taken the first 2, and it's the last start of the season for Jose Fernandez. Hi, everybody. Rich Waltz along with Tommy Hutton. When you come back and pitch in front of friends and family where you grew up, where you first saw a Major League game, you had that very experience as a Los Angeles Dodger. It's a unique one.
Yeah, it really is, and I think we saw when Jose did that in 2013 here against the Rays with coaches, teachers, friends, everybody in attendance. I think he was certainly amped up. He admitted it. But I think he learned a lesson when he came back to pitch that first time this year after Tommy John surgery.
Remember, Alonzo High School here in Tampa. He was a sophomore. The high school coach, when he came out for tryouts, put him in the last group, said, he really wasn't going to make the team until he threw 90 on the mound, and then he made the team.
Well, you're going to see a little bit of a timeline of Jose Fernandez, and certainly high school here, drafted by the Marlins, the first round, 14th overall pick. Made his debut, and then, of course, you have to think about that start that he had here in 2013 against the Tampa Rays. It was not a good one. He was throwing 100 miles an hour in the first inning. There was no question about velocity. But 3 1/3 innings, 5 hits, 7 runs, 4 of those were earned. He walked 3, 6 strikeouts. Remember, he was a kid not too far removed from Alonzo High School in Tampa. Now, he has come back from that. Remember his last start at home, he won that game against Atlanta. Didn't pitch all that well, but remember, it took his record to 17-0 at home. Now it's revisiting once again here at the Trop for Jose Fernandez.
He's an older kid, but he's still a kid, it seems, as Jose takes aim at the Tampa Bay Rays tonight. When we get back, Jessica Blaylock down on the field, fish out of water. Marlins fans have made the trek over. And of course, there are some Marlins fans over here in the Tampa Bay area. It's the Fish and the Rays, and it's coming up. Jessica Blaylock.
Rich, Tropicana Field is just a few hours away from Miami, Orlando, and a couple of other cities, so this is the perfect away game for Marlins fans to make it to. I had a chance to talk to a couple of fans who were in the stands last night for the game for a little feature we like to call Fish Out of Water.
It's a good time. My dad lived in Miami for a while, and when he moved up here, I followed him and he was doing it. I just liked the Marlins ever since I was like 10, 7.
Well, I grew up in West Palm Beach with my parents, and they were always Marlins fans, so I just kind of got wrapped up into it with them.
Well, I met Sean, and her and the family actually were already Tampa Bay Ray fans, but I'm trying to teach them a little about Marlin history.
It's awesome because one of us will go home happy.
He sets a good example, not just for these kids, but all kids that wants to play the game, because he plays the game so hard and so well. And I tell these kids to watch every move that he makes, because you can learn so much by just watching.
You know what? It's awesome because it's her first major league game, so it's nice to be able to bring her to it and see that she sits through the whole game and is really intrigued by everything that's happening. So
my only Marlins shirt is a championship shirt, so I had to wear a Rays shirt.
So why do you pull for the Rays?
I love the Rays. I love coming to the Trump. It's a great team. Miss Joe Madden, though.
They're all nice fans here, so they don't give us a hard time. I mean, you got to support who you love, so that's why I wear it.
So what's it like being a Marlins fan walking into Tropicana Field, home of the Rays?
It's hard to find clothes. Not a whole lot of Marlins stuff you can find, so you have to buy that online most of the time.
Is there a lot of trash talk that goes on?
Oh, yes, a lot. But I got the 2 World Series rings, which they don't.
What's your favorite thing about baseball?
Andy.
Candy. That is awesome. Your favorite thing about baseball is candy. Great answer. The Rays have taken the first 2 games, but the Marlins looking to finish this series strong with a win tonight. Be sure to keep it right here. First pitch is coming up next between the Rays and the Marlins. It is the final start for Jose Fernandez, who knows this area very well. The Marlins will wrap things up here at Tropicana Field before heading to Philadelphia to finish off the season.
By Checkers Epic Meals. Epic deals. And by AutoNation, save on over 70,000 vehicles now. Visit us online at AutoNation.com. The West Coast of Florida. Marlins and Rays wrapping up this series at Tropicana Field. Marlins headed to soggy Philadelphia late tonight after this one. Jake Odorizzi on the mound. D. Gordon's in the box. Pitch Benny brought you that first pitch, and it's fouled back for a strike. It's 0-1.
25-year-old's been pretty consistent this year, Rich. The record 8-9, right around 500. 20 of his starts, he's gone 6 or more innings.
Gordon running up to bunt, and he missed it. It's a strike, and quickly it's 0-2. For D. Gordon, last night, a hit in his last at-bat. It was an RBI single, a 1-for-5 night, but Bryce Harper's cold spell continued. And so D. Gordon and Bryce Harper just separated by percentage points right now in the batting race, and Gordon flips it foul and out of play. Harper at 331. There's the diometer, which measures the average and a chance to win a stolen base title. Remember, he led the National League in stolen bases last year, and a chance to win the hit title as well. He's too shy at 200. And Odorizzi bounces one at the plate. Bryce Harper, by the way, is just about to come to the plate himself in Atlanta.
Yeah, Strasburg against Ryan Weber. Marlins saw Weber not too long ago with the Braves.
1-2 hit hard, but Loney gets the gate down in time. And Gordon is out, number 1. All right, Miami's lineup tonight against Jake Odorizzi. It's brought to you by JM Lexus. D. Gordon hits leadoff. Christian Yelich has been hitting for the last 3 months. Martin Prado at third. Last 22 games smoking hot. Justin Bour almost homered off the top of the wall last night. Marcelo Zuna in center. JT Realmuto behind the plate. Tomas Talis is the DH. Miguel Rojas at short. And Ichiro gets a start. He's in the 9 spot. Yelich takes a strike. 3 hits in the series. A couple doubles. 1 for 4 last night with a walk. That's Ben May calling balls and strikes. Phil Cuzzi, Tony Randazzo, Jerry Davis on the bases. Dan Jennings, his first job in Major League Baseball here in Tampa Bay. A swing and a miss by Yelich.
Odorizzi didn't waste too much time disposing of Christian Yelich with a 92-mile-an-hour fastball. Let's see what the defense looks like tonight for the Rays. Brought to you by BMW. Grady Sizemore, Kevin Kiermaier, what a spectacular catch he made last night. Steven Souza Jr., Longoria, Tim Beckham, Nick Franklin, James Loney around the infield, and JP Arancibia does the catching again.
Now Martin Prado. And a fastball that misses low. Prado's got 4 hits in 7 at-bats, including 2 hits last night. It's a 3-game series. In the air, behind first, Loney and Franklin. And it's neither of those two. It's Souza who makes the running catch. And the Marlins are done in the first, a scoreless game. To face Jose Fernandez. Kevin Cash's lineup looks this way. It's brought to you by JM Lexus. John Jaso back in the leadoff spot. He's the DH. Steven Souza Jr., Evan Longoria at third. Grady Sizemore had some big hits last night. Miami native JP Arancibia will do the catching. James Loney at first. Tim Beckham gets a start at short. Kevin Kiermaier headed for a Gold Glove you would expect in center. Nick Franklin in the 9th spot. He plays second. And this is the pride of Alonzo High School. First pitch driven to right and deep. Ichiro at the track. He makes the catch. And a big swing by John Jaso. A long out number 1.
I think there's a couple of things to watch for tonight. Number one, because Jose is pitching back here in Tampa. Secondly, because he's coming off a not-so-good start, even though he picked up the win against Atlanta. Remember, 9 hits and 6 runs in his 5 innings of work. Had just 2 strikeouts in that game.
Steven Souza Jr., Rays right fielder. A double and a couple hits in this series. And he looks at a Jose Fernandez fastball. He either didn't look real interested or he wasn't ready. Tough to tell on that. Jose was a bit confused. The 0-1. Another fastball scorched up the middle. That's where Gordon is playing. And he gets him at first. So 2 quick outs for Jose here in the first, and that brings up Evan Longoria.
And it also leads us to our defense with Yelich, Ozuna, and Ichiro in the outfield. Defense, as always, brought to you by BMW. Martin Prado, Miguel Rojas, D. Gordon with that nice pick. Justin Bohr at first, JT Real Muto behind the plate.
Now Longoria. And Fernandez misses away. The circumstances certainly vastly different from Jose's start in this building back in 2013. He had just burst on the scene, and he was coming back to Tampa. This is where he came to watch games when he arrived from Cuba as a sophomore at Alonzo High School. Longoria, left field and deep, and that one is gone, way gone. #21 of the season for Evan Longoria.
This is an absolute no-doubter. Jose got hurt with some fastballs that weren't located very well against the Braves. And this time Longoria crushes one. And we referred to that game he had here in 2013. Quite a different look in the lineups. But Loney and Longoria, the only 2 guys in that lineup in 2013 that are in there tonight.
Here now is Grady Sizemore, and he takes a strike. Let's watch Real Muto where he sets and where Fernandez locates.
Want the fastball down, want it away, and it is middle of the plate and in right there.
Sizemore, the former Cleveland Indian All-Star. And he can't check his swing. He strikes out. But the Rays strike first. Evan Longoria blasts one to left. And it's 1-0. innings. Some interaction between the two with Longoria over at third, and that's right in front of Miami's dugout. You don't have to hit it that far.
Hey, you know, number 21, he gave me that fastball right there. What do you expect? Not quite the interaction that we've seen Jose have with the Atlanta Braves.
No, here's Justin Bour now. Marcell Ozuna, JT Realmuto, and Odorizzi misses up. Odorizzi himself has been hurt by the long ball just this month in September. And of course, Bour nearly hit one out in last night's ball game. He blasted one off the top of the yellow bar in right center field. It went for a double.
So far, Rich, in this series, the Rays have out-homered the Marlins 4-0.
Picking at that outside corner, and it misses away.
You talk about a shift, and you see where the second baseman, Nick Franklin, is. And then you look to see where the right fielder is.
Bour sends this one out to center. It's Kiermaier out there. And he makes the catch.
That's as extreme a shift as you're going to see.
Up comes Ozuna. And coming up, winter warm-up, Tommy Hutton. It's on February 20th. Single game tickets for the season 2016 go on sale. You can select your seats for season tickets, mini plans, autographs from Marlin players. Enjoy games, activities for the entire family. Check back regularly to Marlins.com for more details about winter warm-up. Marcell Ozuna. And a fastball from Odorizzi for a strike. Ozuna last night knocked in a run with a single. Odorizzi's been right around the strike zone early on.
Jose still pacing after that first inning home run.
Talked about the home runs for Odorizzi. 18 allowed in 27 starts, but 8 of those came in September. 29 innings, 8 home runs. He was tied for the most in the majors. Just pounding fastballs right now to Ozuna. Gentleman didn't make the catch with the cap. Got the ball anyways.
Well, he'll work in and out. As we look at the scouting report, he'll elevate the fastball. It's not an overpowering one. 92, 91, 93, around that range. 30% of his pitches this year have been changeups. So he's a change artist. And he'll do what some right-handers don't do very often. He'll go righty on righty with the changeup.
That's a Fangraphs number at 30%, and 62 strikeouts with that changeup. That's 43% of his strikeouts, and you have to go righty on righty to get that many strikeouts with the right-handed hitters. Ozuna strikes out, and there you go. 87 miles an hour.
That was it. Odorizzi's been one of those pitchers that's just over the last couple of years been very consistent. Here's that changeup, just enough, and he has Ozuna a little bit out front. But he was 11-13 last year, and 8-9 this year. Spent a little time on the DL this year.
JT Realmuto smacks one to right. Over for it is Souza, and he dives, and it's a foul ball. And so Realmuto trots back with an 0-1 count. Souza, it's a lot easier to dive on this field turf than, say, 15, 20 years ago on just the really flat, hard, artificial turf carpets that were in both baseball and football. Here, the blades of grass are actually a lot longer with the rubber in between. 0-1 pitch.
Yeah, I can tell you how hard that Veterans Stadium AstroTurf was.
Yeah, without question. Parking lot hard. Pitch misses down. A story told to me when field turf first came in 15 years ago, the guy that developed it to sell it to colleges and to pro teams. He would literally take his shirt off, run as hard as he could, and slide on it to prove to them that it's a lot easier on you than the old turf.
Which you would not have done on the old turf.
No, because you'd lost most of the skin on your stomach if you didn't have your shirt on. But the guy would walk out, coat and tie, take it off.
That's a good demonstration. That's a good salesman right there.
You want to see how soft this stuff is? Watch this. That's right down the middle. Odorizzi. 2 really nice innings. He's punched out 3. This copyrighted telecast presented by the Authority of the Marlins may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. Accounts and descriptions of the game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Miami Marlins. Jose Fernandez, J.P. Arancibia, James Loney, and Tim Beckham behind. And Fernandez misses up, rocked by an Evan Longoria homer. A 1-0 Rays lead. Arancibia 1 for 4 last night. Miami guy. Westminster Christian High School.
He put together a solid AAA season, and he's continued the power since getting back to the Rays. Hit 22 home runs this year in AAA, and he's hit 6 with Tampa.
Fernandez elevates a fastball, and it's 1-2. Lots of baseball has been played already. That one smoked to left. Yelich is there, and he makes the catch. That wall awful short right there in foul territory. Yelich made a nice friend there. He made a nice running catch.
Yeah, I think this ball was caught just a little bit off the end of the bat by Arancibia. And there's a friend right there, ready to assist Yelich had he tumbled over the wall.
Ready or not. Here's Loney now. And the Mets went down again to the Phillies in a game that was moved up by Major League Baseball to avoid rain tonight in the Philadelphia area. Of course, that's where the Marlins are headed tonight. Phillies shut them out 3-0. And the Mets are now tied with the Dodgers with identical records. Yelich again over to see his buddy, and this time he slides into the wall. And he looks up and says, "Hi, good to see you again."
It's me again.
We've got to stop meeting like this.
How about a little help next time? Let me know if I have some room. Ball just dropping about a foot foul.
And again, that's a much easier slide on the field turf. The warning tracks are field turf. They're just a different color than the grass, or the playing surface field turf, if you will. Check swing, no swing. Jerry Davis umpiring down there at third. There's a look, which is a little odd for an outfielder in terms of approaching a wall. A warning track is a different color, but that's not what outfielders are after. What outfielders feel when they hit a warning track is a different surface below their feet, so they know without looking that they've hit the warning track.
Yeah, you know you've crossed over from grass to dirt. A little harder to tell here.
Pitch is out. Jose doesn't look real sharp right now.
No, and the Rays are having good swings. That was a changeup that missed.
Two. Into center field. That's a hit. Ozuna on a hop. James Loney for the one-out single. Here comes Tim Beckham.
Yeah, the Rays are having good swings. They're picking up his pitches, and they've hit a lot of balls hard.
And here is Beckham, who gets the start at short. Yeah, Mets lose 3-0. Dodgers win 3-2. Dodgers beat the Giants. So the Dodgers and the Mets have identical records right now.
So for that home field advantage, if it ends in a tie.
Someone's won a coin flip, and I don't know who.
Is it a coin flip, or would it be their season series? I know we're testing the crack staff early here, but we might have to.
Speaking of home field, the Cubs beat the Reds 5-3. And with the Pirates not playing, the Cubs are now 2 back of the Pirates. And that would be home field in that wild card game. I think they go by record against Power 5 conferences. That is strike 3 called. Beckham caught looking. Fernandez gets a strikeout. It's his second. And here comes Kevin Kiermaier.
Yeah, you want to see sometimes a pitch or an at bat will really get a pitcher set up. So you'd like to see Jose settle in now after making some really good pitches to Beckham.
Tommy, I've confirmed that it's the Mets who own the tiebreaker as a result of a 4-3 victory in their season series. So the Mets have the tiebreaker. Still, they need to start winning some games. The Dodgers, with that win, have tied them. That one is smoked to right field. Ichiro after it, won't get it. It's off the wall. Loney doesn't run well. He's to third, and that's as far as he'll get. Ichiro to Gordon to Real Muto on the relay. But the Rays continue to hit the ball hard against Jose. Some loud outs in the outfield. The home run by Longoria. The line drive single by Loney. And now Kiermaier with a double.
It's all about location, and I think Jose found that out in his last start. You saw the pitch to Longoria. That breaking ball just floated middle of the plate, and Kiermaier with a solid swing. So right now, the velocity and everything seems all right, but it's the location that is giving Jose some trouble. Good play by Ichiro. He had to wait for that ball to come down when it jumped up in the air off the fence.
Now Franklin, who had a big homer last night, broke a tie game and got the Rays started in a big inning. Not been the best of seasons for him. It was just his 3rd homer of the year. grandmother, his mother in attendance. Slider for a strike, and it's 2-1. Top of the order, and Jaso on deck. He even hit it hard. Going after the first pitch back in that first inning. Flying out to the warning track and right. And it's just fastball. And it's 2-2.
A good fastball. That fastball had a little life to it. Like the breaking ball there, but again left that pitch up. Not the sharpness. They're trying to get the feel right now. It's Jose.
Remember, Jose gave up 4 runs in the first inning in the win over Atlanta.
That's a much better one.
And Franklin strikes out. Family approves. 1-0 Rays. Taste of Miami at Marlins Park. It's the 2nd annual, and it's coming up in February. Marlins players, celebrity chefs. You can reserve your spot, 1-877-MARLINS, marlins.com/taste of Miami. It's at Marlins Park. That should be good. Tomas Talis, Miguel Rojas, and Ichiro. Jake Odorizzi has been on his game. He's got 3 strikeouts. He's retired all 6 that he's faced. 25-year-old out of Highland, Illinois.
Rich, it was kind of nice. The folks here at the Trop made us feel right at home tonight, because in the press dining area, what did they have? Cuban sandwiches.
On a Jose start. Odorizzi flips it, and Talis is out. And so there's one out here in the 3rd. Odorizzi, a guy that's been involved in 2 major trades. He was actually drafted by Milwaukee. That was all the way back in 08. He was a first round, 32nd overall. And traded to Kansas City. The big name going from one to the other was Zach Greinke. Lorenzo Cain, Alcides Escobar also went from Milwaukee. Those guys have worked out pretty well for the Royals. Rojas bangs one to Franklin. And then to get to Tampa Bay from Kansas City, Will Myers and a couple others came with Odorizzi. for James Shields. And as it would turn out, Wade Davis as well.
So that is pretty interesting. I mean, involved in 2 big trades involving a couple of big-time pitchers, Greinke and Shields.
Here's Ichiro.
Yeah, Odorizzi was an outstanding wide receiver in high school in Illinois.
Ichiro takes in. Ichiro in one of those stretches right now where hits are tough to come by. Not had many of these in his career. He's 3 for his last 39. Fouls that back to the screen.
Yeah, that figures out to an .077 average since the All-Star break. Things have tailed off. Ichiro just a .212 average since the All-Star break.
Odorizzi dots the outside corner. Well, just 4 games left, including this one. And so not a lot of opportunities to add to his hit total. That one a line drive out to short. Beckham snares it, and Odorizzi has retired all 9 that he's faced.
Well, one of the features of the Trop that we've been talking about so far tonight is the field turf. It's a much more difficult surface to play on than natural grass, and because of that, a couple of players are wearing cleats tonight that have rubber spikes instead of metal spikes. That includes Christian Yelich, who told me that those rubber spikes allow for a much better grip and helps take some of the wear and tear off of his back and his knees. And guys, I also had a chance to talk to Perry Hill about how the playing surface compares here to Toronto, and he said that the field turf here is a lot more difficult because it's older and matted down. The ball plays much harder and faster compared to Rogers Center, where because the turf is brand new, the ball plays much slower.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting, listening to that, Perry Hill's comments. One of the things they try to do with the field turf surfaces for baseball and football is fluff them up, and by doing that, they try to actually, almost like dragging an infield, they try to drag the turf itself like a giant rake across it to get those blades separated, to get it soft. Now, Toronto's field is very, very slow. That is a new surface this year. And when the Marlins were in there, all the talk was it's hard to get a ground ball all the way out to an outfielder. It was so slow. Bohr to his right, and I wanted to say it got under his glove, but I don't think he ever got the glove down. Jaso sneaks a hit into right field.
This is a ball that looks like it could have been caught. Let's see if Justin Bohr is there. Boy, got there. It looked like, let's see if he put the glove down. he never really put the glove down. And Jaso ends up getting a base hit, but looked catchable, but he just didn't get the glove down.
Steven Souza Jr. takes a fastball for a strike. So the Rays have 4 hits. The Marlins do not have a hit. Souza bounced out to second. Three strikeouts for Jose. That one's into left field. And now it's Longoria and Jose for round 2.
Third baseman, Evan Longoria.
This was the first at bat. That was the first pitch. That was the first swing. And it turned out to be the first run.
We haven't seen 98s, I don't believe, tonight. We've seen 95, 96 from Jose. There we go. Starting to up it up a little bit, but still the location not where he wants it. That's the key.
And if you want to play along with us at home, just watch where Real Muto's glove is set and watch where he has to reach for the pitch, if he does have to reach. One and two. Jess was talking about the field turf in Toronto. When the Marlins were there, a lot of the talk was the Blue Jays and the Rogers Center, it used to be Skydome, are trying to figure out how to put natural grass in there, which I think is going to be a real challenge. And this time Longoria.
There he upped it, 98-mile-an-hour fastball by him.
The Blue Jays were one of the teams that clinched last night. And, hey, 1993, Tommy Hutton was a Blue Jay announcer.
That was good times in Toronto.
Do you remember the split of the Czech Republic?
It was big news in Toronto, yeah.
Slovakia. The Bills lost their 3rd straight Super Bowl. They would end up playing football games in Toronto.
Those were the Joe Carter, Roberto Alomar, Tony Fernandez.
Jose was 1. Here is Grady Sizemore. But one of the things that the tricks of growing grass in a retractable roof ballpark, and the roof does retract at Rogers Center, is getting enough sunlight on that grass for it to grow. That was in the right field. That's a base hit. Jaso around third, coming home. Ichiro's throw is towards third, and the Rays have another run. Sizemore, who had the big hit last night that drove in 3, with an RBI single here.
Grady Sizemore now has 10 RBIs over his last 7+ games. He's been a nice addition. You mentioned the big hit last night. Sneaks this one through the hole. And Jaso was able to score from second.
And so here is Aaron Sebia. 7-game hit streak for Sizemore. Maybe there's a team out there, maybe it's the Rays that are watching Sizemore and think maybe he's got a little more left in the tank.
Well, he's certainly a guy that if you need him, he can play center, but he can play the other outfield spots. With Kiermaier, they don't need him in center. He DH'd last night.
to center. Ozuna, and it falls. The throw to second, and he's safe. D. Gordon at second. I don't know if he had stretched, but it looked like he went down to tag the runner. That's a force play at second base. Let's take another look at this.
This ball hit off the end of the bat, and so it drops in front. Ozuna with a decoy. I think Sizemore was able to get there.
Maybe D is hoping he popped up high.
Yeah, he reached back with his foot to step on the bag, and then also with the tag.
You're
just
right.
in case.
It was a little safety swipe in case he overslid the bag. That was close at second base. And for Jose, the hits just keep on happening here.
At first baseman, James Loney.
James Loney now. Bags loaded and one out. Loney singled his first at bat. That chopper over the middle. Gordon got the out there. Nice play by D. And the double play gets Jose out of further peril. Rays get another run and lead it 2-0. And Jake Odorizzi has set down the minimum through 3. All 9 that he's faced, he struck 3 of them out. So it's second time through for D. Gordon, Christian Yelich, and Martin Prado. Gordon bounced to first, hit it hard, but it was an out. It was an 0-for, as we noted at the start of the telecast. Gordon just percentage points behind Bryce Harper at 331 to start things. Harper is 0-for-1. He struck out in his first at bat. So it certainly makes for a lot of intrigue this weekend as the Marlins head to Philly to battle the Phils and apparently a lot of rain. Gordon lashes it to left and it hangs up. It's dropped there by Sizemore. He started into a slide. It could be a hit. It could be an error.
You know, the fact that Odorizzi hasn't given up a base hit, they might call it an error. It very easily could be a hit with the difficulty that Sizemore had in trying to come in and make the play, and they have charged Sizemore with an error.
So E7
Boy, another well-hit ball by D. Gordon.
Gordon's at first. Now he can swipe a bag and get himself even with Billy Hamilton. Yelich takes a fastball out. Yelich struck out back in the first. Quick throw, Gordon back. Remember, D led the National League in stolen bases last year, but always nice to add a crown when you've got a shot.
'64 steals last year for D. Gordon.
He's running, got a good jump. The throw is right on. He's out.
Wow, just perfect.
Aaron Sebe has always been known as a really good defensive catcher. And on that catch and throw, he put it right on the bag.
Yelich does his job to take the pitch, but that throw, Beckham didn't have to move his glove.
The Marlins are looking at this. As Gordon walks off slowly, he's trying to buy himself some time. The glove was down, the hand came in. Wow.
It almost looks like the tag was applied on the forearm.
Again, it's early in the ball game, and if you're not 100% sure, there's a look from the back of the bag. On that one, it looked like the glove got to him before he got to the bag. So that's what you measure when you're watching that replay in that room. Yelich strikes out again. Boy, Odorizzi right now is just carving up Miami.
There's not a lot of base hit. Has 4 strikeouts, no walks, and gets Yelich with his fastball. So we talked about that in the scouting report. Even though he's not overpowering, he will elevate that fastball and get hitters to chase the high fastball with 2 strikes. Looking ahead, as far as the batting race, the Nationals over the weekend, they're in New York taking on the Mets. Remember how we thought a month and a half ago how big a series that might be?
Not so much.
Not so much now, no.
And, you know, the funny thing was when 2-3 months ago we talked about that series, it was, well, if the Mets hang in there, that would be an interesting series. As it is, the Nationals are still trying to get a winning record. Washington comes into tonight at 80-78. So they've got to win a couple ball games, including tonight and the 3 over the weekend, if they want to have a winning record. There's a look at the East. Prado holds up on a fastball that comes in.
The Nationals in Atlanta have a 1-0 lead. 4th inning, Clint Robinson with a home run. Strasburg pitching well again.
(3-2) foul back to the screen. The Blue Jays are coming in here. A couple things to watch for in that series, as Toronto is trying to nail down home field advantage. They're battling Kansas City for that. The Blue Jays lost today to Baltimore. And will Troy Tulowitzki play? as Toronto's headed to the postseason. It'd be nice to get him back, get him some at-bats before everything starts for Toronto.
Rich, the amazing thing about the Blue Jays, on July 29th, Toronto was 50 and 51. They were a game under 500. They've gone 42 and 15 since.
And the Rays were ahead of them in the East. Toronto walks, and so he'll trot down to first, and that gives Justin Bourne at bat. 2-0, Rays on top.
First baseman, Justin Bourne.
What a month of September for Justin Bourne. 9 home runs, 25 RBIs.
And Bourne takes out, third among Major League rookies in homers at 23. And in RBIs at 71. And number 24 almost came last night. Fouls that one straight back.
You know, 24 would be a professional high for Justin Bourne. He had 23 home runs in the Florida State League, playing for Daytona when he was with the Cubs.
Double-A with the Cubs, he had that real big year. Not necessarily with home runs, but RBIs.
And 110 RBIs, had 17 home runs that year. That was a little bit of disappointment in his career. The Cubs did not advance him to AAA.
After a year like that?
Yeah.
And then after the next year, the Marlins were able to snatch him up in the Rule 5 draft, the minor league Rule 5 draft. Bour sends that one into left center field. Sizemore is there, and he makes the catch. Well, Jake Odorizzi still hasn't given up a hit. Miami's down 2-0. Epic deal. Evan Longoria is homered. The Rays have a 2-0 lead over Jose Fernandez and the Fish in St. Pete under the O-rings.
Jose has yet to have a 1-2-3 inning.
Tim Beckham. Marlins saw him in week 1, and he had a nice series in Miami. And of course, the oddity of the Citrus series, Tommy, is that the Marlins and the Rays saw each other in that first homestand of the season, second series of the year, and here they are, second to the last series of the year, all the way in October. Fastball foul back and out of play.
Tim Beckham grew up outside of Atlanta. last year for Beckham, this is why this year's an important year for him. Last year, just 24 games in the minor leagues. He was recovering from knee surgery.
And Beckham strikes out for the second time, and they've both been looking. And that certainly a strike at 98 miles an hour. It's the hardest Jose has thrown tonight. South Florida Honda dealers bring you Marlins Live. Craig Minervini, Preston Wilson. Game 1 Philly preview. Craig will be doubling as not only pregame host but also weatherman tomorrow. He'll have his Doppler radar screen up.
The little clicker.
The little clicker, you're right. The wand
that
brings in the low pressure system, chases out the clouds, because the chance of rain tomorrow night is.
Don't even show that.
That's, yeah.
Well, Joaquin is not arriving. Is not arriving till Monday or Tuesday, but it's pushing
his distant relatives.
This other front, yes.
His distant relatives are arriving.
See, right, that's pushing it right into that area there.
So that's tomorrow night. Look for Craig, the green screen behind him, a weather map, and the Marlins and the Phillies.
The interesting thing about Jose's game tonight, here we are just one out in the fourth inning. He has 5 strikeouts, which tells you his stuff is there, but with the way the Rays have hit a lot of pitches, he's just missed with location.
0-2. Off-speed pitch. Bohr tries to backhand, can't get that one. And Kiermaier races to first. It's going to be a base hit.
Well, I'll tell you what, if that's a base hit, the one into left field that D. Gordon hits a base hit. Ball came up on him. Not an easy play.
Kiermaier 2 for 2. And here is Franklin. And Kiermaier can run, so don't sleep on him. He's got 18 stolen bases. He's been caught 5 times. He goes to left. Yelich has it. Loads up, fires across, and just back in time is Kiermaier. Bloodied and dirtied.
Well, that's why on a hit and run, if you're the runner, you have to try to pick up the baseball. Kiermaier did that, had to put the brakes on just a few feet away from second base, and then hustle back to first. Good job, though, by Christian Yelich. Uh-oh. Picks up the line drive. Miguel Rojas tried to give him the decoy. If you don't pick up the ball, you get deked, and you start rounding second base.
Of course, once you round second base, you got to retouch on your voyage back.
So everybody did their job that time. Yelich, Rojas, Kiermaier.
Even Franklin hit it hard. Jaso takes outside. Jaso's had 2 real nice swings. He lined to the warning track and right in the first, singled in the third.
I think I might grow my hair like Jaso in the offseason. What do you think, Rich?
I'm down with that, Tommy. Be a good look in spring training.
I mean, I am attending a wedding in Jamaica.
You'll have to curtail your use of product in your hair.
Yeah.
But I think you could pull it off. Change up from Jose.
Good because, number one, of the arm speed, but also the location. See where he kept that pitch.
into center field. Kiermaier's not stopping, and he's at third now. And another solid swing by Jason.
He's always been an intriguing player, a guy with a lifetime on-base percentage of right around 360. It's 380 this year. He doesn't strike out very much.
Now Souza. So the hits just keep coming. 9 of them already for the Rays. This is bottom 4. Fernandez has a couple outs, but the Rays have a couple runners aboard. At the corners. Breaking ball for a strike.
I guess one of the things you start to look at now for Jose, who's going to have all winter now to just get the strength back, get everything going, get ready for next year. His last start against Atlanta, he gave up 9 hits.
And 4 runs in the first inning.
You remember the ball club hung on and won that game for him. That was his 17th win at home to go 17-0.
That one into the seats. Well, as much as people say that, hey, I came back from Tommy John surgery and I was throwing harder than before, that's not the reality. The reality is you don't have the touch on your breaking stuff. You don't have the location on your fastball. It takes a while.
It takes time to get that rhythm that you need on the mound.
He buried that one, and swinging through it was Souza. So Jose escapes damage. Rays lead 2. This game's gone 4, and it's 2-0.
Including Kevin Cash. Here is Cash on what he learned as his first year as skipper of the Rays.
It's a long season. You can play well for a long time, but you got to consistently do it even that much longer. But you know, I think you learn and you have great appreciation for what these players go through on a daily basis, and our coaches go through on a daily basis. And you know, everybody calls it a grind, and to some degree it is a grind. But the atmosphere that we try to create in here, hopefully they've enjoyed it as much as we have as a staff.
Cash added that getting to work under Terry Francona while in Cleveland, that was a big help for him in his first year as a manager. Guys?
Yeah, I think for probably 5 months, the Rays maybe overachieved from what many people thought they would be in 2015.
I think to carry that over what Kevin Cash said, you can certainly relate that to Dan Jennings and how he will be able to take what he's learned down in that dugout as a manager as he moves on, because there are things he's learned, I'm sure, that he saw from afar sitting up in the general manager's box, but things that he wasn't all that aware of down in the dugout and the daily grind, the things that teams have to go through.
Ozuna with the count 2-2. JT Realmuto and Thomas Talis against Jake Odorizzi. Miami looking for their first hit here in the 5th inning, and Ozuna fouls it back to the screen. I would think that the lessons and the notes, if he took them, are many for a general manager to be in the dugout and managing a ball club. Because there are things that, and even DJ has admitted this. There's the first hit. It's into right field. Base hit for Ozuna. There are things that he never imagined, that he didn't realize players went through, managers go through, the coaching staff. He's talked a lot about, I had no idea that the coaching staff had these type of challenges or had this much responsibility. All kinds of things that until you're there and until you open the door and look in the room, you just don't know.
He also told me he's really liked what Marcell Ozuna has done since he's returned from his time in AAA.
I think you can see the player that Ozuna was last year over the last month of this season, which is a great sign, because as a young player, what you're looking for is consistency.
The pop is there. Ball coming off the bat sharply.
Ball and a strike to Realmuto. JT called that on strikes into second. Odorizzi right now has a couple runs on the board. The Rays do not score runs when he pitches. He has the 5th lowest run support in the American League. And down goes Realmuto.
It's such a cross between a change-up and maybe just taking a little off the fastball, but it has movement. You see that ball really tail in 87 miles an hour to pick up the strikeout.
Talis swings and misses.
Talis has been well traveled this year. A little bit with Texas, AAA with Texas in Round Rock, and AAA in New Orleans.
And in all of those spots, he's hit.
Yeah, played a lot of games for Round Rock, AAA with the Rangers, and Talis in his 70 games there, 291.
Designated hitter tonight in the 7th spot. Miguel Rojas on deck, 1 out. Ozuna at first. Odorizzi misses out.
You know what we have not asked Tomas Talis? What kind of a teammate Ed Lucas was at Round Rock.
That's right, Ed Lucas.
We know the answer.
Is out. It's 2-2. If you're just happening by this one, it's 2-0 Rays. D. Gordon's 0 for 2. So is Bryce Harper with 2 strikeouts actually in Atlanta. They both have seen their batting average reduced into the 330 range. With Harper ahead percentage points wise. Talise ropes one into right field. He went up and yanked an outside fastball to right field. You need a quick bat and strong hands to do this.
Well, we talked about how this is what Odorizzi likes to do. He likes to elevate, but if you elevate to a guy who likes a pitch up in that area, and Talise does, then you give up the base hit. He almost hit that from his tiptoes. Ed Lucas this year, Rich, in 107 games for Round Rock. Hit .316, had 17 doubles, 6 home runs, 48 RBIs.
Good for Ed Lucas. Let's hope that he hangs in there, gets another shot in the big leagues. Rojas drops down the bunt, and Arancibia's throw is bobbled at third. Longoria, it's a force play there, and the Rays may have had more time than they thought. It's going to be an E2. The throw was low, and Longoria tried to scoop it but couldn't corral it.
Yeah, it'll go as a fielder's choice error, too. There was probably, you're right, more time for Arancibia. That bunt just didn't get out far enough. He makes a good play to get onto it right away, but then short hops Longoria, who can't hang on. Just like that, bases loaded, 1 out.
And here is Ichiro, who lined to short. Outfield shallow, and as you see him, they're towards left center. Infield back for 2. Ichiro hits a fly ball to left. Let's see if Sizemore catches it. He does. Tagging third is Ozuna, and he's going to come home and score. So Miami has a run. Ichiro delivers a sacrifice fly. And that brings Gordon up.
Well, you knew what Ichiro had on his mind. Try to get a base hit, but at least lift one to score a run from third.
And at this stage in the game, with a 2-0 lead, if you're Sizemore, you catch it and try to prevent a big inning. Gordon's hit the ball hard. Sharp grounded to first, and then the line drive that Sizemore couldn't catch on a sliding attempt. It was ruled an error at the time.
You mentioned, Rich, Bryce Harper 0 for 2 with a couple of strikeouts. Harper 3 for his last 28. So he's not finishing on an MVP run, even though he probably will win that award.
Fastball up. Gordon in this series is 2 for 10. But you got to like, as you pointed out, the swings that he's had tonight. This is not a real big ballpark. And so for a guy like Gordon, it's a little different than playing in Miami. The outfielders are a little closer to home plate. And I guess the question going to Philly, will the Marlins be able to get all 3 games in? Certainly Gordon would like to get 3 cracks at it. Marlins would like to add to their win total to finish the season. They have secured 3rd place in the East. Lee Gordon strikes out Odorizzi with a fastball. Marlins are on the board. They're still trailing here 2-1. instant analysis, live look-ins, highlights from around baseball. And, of course, the postseason's coming up, so the whip-around really starts whipping. 7 Eastern on FS1. Streams live on Fox Sports Go. Jose Fernandez, Evan Longoria. They meet again. First inning, first pitch. Longoria homered to left. Jose struck him out in the third. Another breaking ball. This one a strike.
If you're thinking about pitches, the last couple of outings, Jose's been at 96 pitches, 95 pitches.
That's Ozuna calling off Ichiro.
And it's been a while, Rich, since Jose Fernandez has lost the game.
Yeah. It was a road game, and it was in San Diego. And that was the start in which he came out of the game and subsequently had the Tommy John surgery. That's early May of last year. His home record, of course, is a record. 17-0 with a 1.40 ERA in 26 starts. Best in Major League history to start at home in a career. On the road this year, an ERA of 3.42. He's 1-0. That's a strike on Sizemore. It's 3-1. 7 straight now for Sizemore. An RBI single in the third.
Jose with a different glove. Maybe this is his road glove.
97 with the fastball. The blue glove had been by his side for his previous starts since coming off the disabled list for the second time with the bicep tendonitis. That one into left center. That's a base hit. Sizemore around first. Not going to stop. Now he does. Yelich with a one-hop strike to second. I'm telling you what, Grady Sizemore's turning back the clock. He looks pretty good at the plate. Jack McKeon can manage and he can play golf. And you can play golf with him. The 3rd annual Jack McKeon Celebrity Golf Classic at Crandon Golf Course, Key Biscayne on Wednesday, February 17th. Marlins players, coaches, other celebrities will be there for an exciting day of golf. 1-877-MARLINS or go to marlins.com/golf. High pop up near the rings. Not the ring of death, but the ring of O. It's caught there by Rojas. It's, of course, one of the, I guess you can't say endearing features of the Trop, but unique would be a better word, are the rings that support the roof that run around the ballpark and at different levels in both fair and foul territory have caused some pretty wild bounces, balls that go up and don't come down.
I think there was one of those this year. By the way, the 10 hits that the Rays have picked up tonight, that's a career high, the most that Jose's ever allowed in a game.
Another base hit. Ichiro picks it up. Loney's got 2 hits.
Yeah, it's a crazy game. I mean, he's allowed 11 hits. He has 6 strikeouts. He hasn't walked anybody. Here's the location thing again. Just too much of the plate. Yet it's a 2-1 ball game. That's the incredible thing about all of it.
Tough to watch this. edge of their seat on every pitch. Now Beckham, and Beckham's been baffled by Jose. He's taken 2 fastballs for strike 3s in the 2nd and in the 4th. And it's 0-2.
And with all that, the hits allowed, men on base every inning, still just 81 pitches.
Beckham got a piece of it. So 6 strikeouts. The first hit he gave up went a long way. That was the Longoria homer back in the 1st. An Ichiro sacrifice fly, Miami's only run. Grady Sizemore knocked in a run with a single in the 3rd. Beckham did not offer. First round draft pick was Beckham, and a guy that took a while to get to the big leagues, kind of endured a lot of hardships along the way.
Do you know who he was picked ahead of? Buster Posey.
It's 1-2.
Yeah, he's first pick. So Buster Posey was available.
I'm sure from that 08 draft,
yeah,
there's like a long line of guys. That is strike 3 called. Beckham knew it. And Jose strands 2 more. Still just a 2-1 game. The Trop, Marlins and Rays, along with Jessica Blaylock and Tommy Hutton. Rich Waltz with you. Odd game here, 2-1, Rays on top. You saw that the Marlins have just 2 hits. And Jake Odorizzi has been tough. He's been tough on Christian Yelich. He's punched him out twice. He has 6 strikeouts, just the 2 hits, and just 1 run. Yelich, a liner to center, and Kiermaier, who comes running in and makes a leaping catch. You don't often see that. But I'll tell you what, just watching him, and we saw him for 3 games in Miami, and then 2 here. He is a wonderful outfielder.
He has shown in this series the type of defense he can play, and you realize there has only been another Tampa Bay Ray to have double figures in home runs and triples. Kevin Kiermaier won, the other Carl Crawford. Yeah, Kiermaier with 12 triples, has 10 home runs, has 24 doubles.
Prado lifts one to center. Kiermaier stays on the ground this time and makes the catch. Odorizzi has 2 quick outs. 1997. This is a Geico Marlins moment. Gary Sheffield 3 for 4, walk-off single, and the Marlins took a 2-0 series lead against the Giants back in '97 in both wild card marches to a world championship. The Marlins have dispatched the San Francisco Giants out of the postseason. Odorizzi's been out a lot against Bohr, just off the outside of the plate.
Well, he started him with that changeup, 84. That comes back with 91-mile-an-hour fastball, but after that changeup, it appears a lot harder.
He's been able to get a lot of swings and misses on a 91-mile-an-hour fastball. That one at 92. Aaron Sebia makes a catch. Jake Odorizzi, 1-2-3 in the 6th.
In the 6th inning, I'm joined now by a special guest. This is Mike Hendricks. He is the North Springs Little League president. And Mike, you guys have a very cool partnership with the Marlins. Tell me how that came about.
Well, the Marlins reached out to us a couple years ago and had this great idea of partnering with us where they would bring some players out to our ballpark and reach out to our younger players and then give us a chance to come and bring our younger players to Marlins Stadium and experience walking on the field, running the bases, and meeting some of the players. So,
what are some of the benefits to having a partnership with the Marlins?
Well, it keeps the youth of today's baseball excited in the game. You know, so many young kids are playing other sports, but when they get a chance to meet their heroes and see where they can get to someday, maybe playing as a professional, it's exciting for them, and it keeps them excited in the sport.
And you had an opportunity to take a couple of Little League teams to a game at Marlins Park earlier this season. What was that experience like?
It was great. We brought about 200 kids, about 800 people all together to the stadium where they got to get on the field before the game, be a part of the national anthem, run the bases, meet a few players. It's an experience and a memory that they'll have forever. So very exciting, very cool experience.
All right, thank you so much for your time, Mike. Guys, just another way that the Marlins are pouring back into the community.
All right, thank you, Jessica. Jose Fernandez, Kevin Kiermaier, the 1-2. And Tapper draws Prado to the line across the diamond in time. Bohr, a tight one, makes the catch.
You notice
it out here in the sixth.
Notice how when Prado picked that ball, he picked and released quickly because he knows Kiermaier runs well. And he knew he had to make that play in a hurry.
Nick Franklin in the 9th spot in this one. And Franklin takes a strike. 11 hits, a career high given up by Jose Fernandez. 7 strikeouts, no walks. And the Rays have just the 2 runs. Miami just 2 hits, but they have a run. That run unearned. Franklin swings and misses. Odorizzi has walked 1 and struck out 6. Now Barraclough in Miami's pen starting to loosen up. And another nice breaking ball, and Jose now at 8 strikeouts. So there's 2 down. Fish family tonight. Tommy Hutton, your bonus code is Gulf Coast. There you go. To learn more, log in. Go to marlins.com/fishfamily. The west coast of Florida. This is a great time to be here. The weather has been terrific. St. Pete is such a very cool destination, a city that is filled with a lot of things, not only Major League Baseball, great art, great restaurants.
We love our team hotel here where we stay. It's gorgeous.
The Renaissance Vinoy. We had a chance for the crew to get together and have dinner the other night along the bay shore, so to speak.
A little rooftop happy hour overlooking the bay.
0-2. Got him. Jose Fernandez.
Best inning he's had.
He strikes out a pair. He's punched out 9. And the Rays do have 11 hits, but only 2 runs. This game steams to the 7th, 2-1. Lobbying. Dan Jennings not wavering. They shook hands. Jose turning to Chuck Hernandez, his pitching coach. He's on the phone, and he gives a little shake of the hands. And Jose goes back. Still figures maybe he could change his mind. Marcell Ozuna, breaking ball from Odorizzi, who has been splendid tonight. And so Jose, now the handshakes. The season done. Unless the Marlins need a pinch hitter in Philly. He'll certainly lobby for that as well. He's still trying to talk Chuck into it. Come on, Chuck. Go talk to the manager for me, will you?
See, when he doesn't get to hit, he has like extra energy.
Now he's going back to DJ. He won't take his glove. Well, now he takes it off, but he's got it on.
Trying to explain to DJ that the best inning I've had was the last inning. I made good pitches. I made a good pitch to change up to strike out Jaso. I didn't walk anybody tonight.
Ozuna strikes out, and Odorizzi has punched out 7, and the Marlins have just 2 hits against him. This is not one of those starts by Odorizzi where the Marlins have had opportunities, because the run they got was helped along by a throwing error, that in the 5th. Sacrifice fly by Ichiro produced an unearned run. Realmuto has struck out twice. Is it the righty on righty change that's giving the right-handed bats?
I think he's really located well. He's moved the ball around. That is certainly important. He's thrown a lot of change-ups. It's kind of varied from 84 to 87. We've seen his fastball, which is 91, 92, but he's gotten strikeouts with that as well.
Odorizzi on the disabled list with an oblique strain. Realmuto into right. He's got a hit. And so JT, who's been one of Miami's best bats since the 1st of September. A 1-out single. Being a Marlins season ticket holders, the only way to guarantee access to the 2017 All-Star Game at Marlins Park. Place your 2016 deposit down and join the Fish family. Just call 1-877-MARLINS or go to marlins.com/tickets.
Xavier Cedeno, left-hander, getting ready. You know what you can't figure out in this game? The last 6 starts for Odorizzi, he struggled. His ERA about 5.5.
He's trying to bunt for a hit. And he fouls it off. Yeah, we talked about the home runs. 8 home runs in September. Tied for the most in baseball.
For some reason, he's always pitched well here. His lifetime numbers at the Trop, 10-10, win-loss, but 299 earned run average coming into tonight.
Slowly hit. And Odorizzi, the all-conference wide receiver in high school, glides over, gets the out. And here comes Rojas. Rojas bounced out.
Number 19, Miguel Rojas.
Reached on an error. Frank Menachino, Marlins hitting coach. Working the charts. All-time Marlins best batting average in a month. That's September at 293. Just 5 points off their best August of 09. Well, Rojas is a guy that has come up with some nice hits, and in Danny Echeverria's spot, both with the glove and the bat, has been more than adequate as a replacement. I mean, he's hit in his last 17 games, 364. pitch is up. Certainly for the Marlin bats, it's not been a great night. D. Gordon in particular is 0 for 3. Bryce Harper just got a hit. So he's 1 for 3. Harper's average at 331. With the 0 for 3, Gordon is at 329. Washington, by the way, leads Atlanta in that ballgame 1-0. Bottom 6. Here 2-1 Tampa Bay. Longoria's homer got it started. That one cranked down the left field line, and Yelich's buddies over there knocked off his chair.
I tell you what, that gentleman has had an active night at the ballpark.
Yelich went over there twice, and now the line drive finds him.
Look out.
Whoa.
You see how you can sneak a home run in here at the Trop. The fence goes down right there at the corner, and it's less than 320 feet.
Seven
right there.
Longoria's corner, that game 162, his extra inning home run that won it, that captured the wild card. The pitch in on Rojas. Count 3-2. You got Ichiro on deck for Miami. The Rays bullpen is active and ready.
Yeah, you wonder if they're getting Cedeno ready if it gets to Ichiro.
I'll tell you what, though, I would rather have Odorizzi pitch to Ichiro than the lefty pitch to a right-handed pitch hitter. Wouldn't you? That's out, and we'll see what happens here.
Your right-handed choices, though, are Donovan Solano, Casey McGee, maybe a Jeff Mathis. And by the way, our congratulations.
Oh, that's right.
To Jeff Mathis and his wife, Jenna.
Yeah, the Mathis family, Jenna, delivering Olivia Sage Mathis. And it should go by Sage. That on Monday. Well, it's Jim Hickey who comes out, so it looks like Odorizzi is going to get Ichiro. I don't know. If you were the manager, would you go with the lefty against?
I would stay with Odorizzi.
I would too.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want McGee against the lefty.
But it was Ichiro who supplied the sacrifice fly for the only Marlins run tonight.
Well, he is on a 3 for 40 skid right now.
Yeah, low point for Ichiro, 231. There's Jeff Mathis, proud papa.
Nicely done, Mom. Well, right now, Odorizzi, with a count 2-0, they've got D. Gordon on deck. 2 outs. Rojas at first, Real Muto at second. Odorizzi's been in control all night long. Ichiro in the center field. Round third. Here comes Real Muto. Throw comes home, and he's out by a bunch. My goodness. Just give the gold glove to Kevin Kiermaier already, why don't you? He is an absolute beast in center field. He throws out Real Muto by about 15 feet.
Just a perfect throw. Goodness.
AT Realmuto with 2 outs trying to score on this Ichiro hit.
A good charge by Kiermaier. He comes up and it's a strike to the plate on the speedy JT Realmuto. That's a great exchange there.
Yeah, that's Grady Sizemore. Sizemore has won 2 Gold Gloves. He plays with one of those Rawlings models that has the gold label on it that signifies Gold Glove. And so Sizemore was essentially handing a Gold Glove to Kiermaier as they ran off the field.
Kevin Kiermaier leads the major leagues in defensive runs saved. According to Baseball Reference, he just saved another one, so he can add another to the list.
That's his 15th assist as well. He leads all Major League center fielders with that. He's 1 shy of Melvin Upton Jr.'s team record. Kyle Barraclough is in. He takes over for Jose in a 2-1 Tampa Bay lead. Steven Souza Jr. is the first guy that Barraclough faces. And a line drive hit. Second of the ball game for Souza.
It's the first appearance for Kyle Barraclough in this series.
Number 3, Evan Longoria.
See the Rays box score, a lot of hits there. A dozen now. The career high for Jose at 11. The 2 runs. And no walks. Barraclough, 96-mile-an-hour fastball to Longoria, who homered. First pitch that Jose threw to him in the first inning. He's got another run on Sizemore's RBI single in the 3rd. The other thing that Kiermaier had working for him, and we noted it earlier in the Ichiro at bat, the outfield does not play very deep against Ichiro to begin with, and this isn't a big park, and so he was rather shallow in center.
But it's a chance to take 100% of the time. You're always going to send, especially with the way JT Realmuto runs.
As well, with 2 outs, you're assuming that runner's going to get a little extra head start because he's off on contact. Or kind of with the backdoor tag. The reverse pivot.
It's pretty close, though.
It was.
Souza has 12 stolen bases, but he's also been caught 6 times. Another area where Kiermaier leads the Rays. He leads them in stolen bases with 18. That was a great sequence, by the way, of Sizemore handing him his Gold Glove.
Nice presentation ceremony. I mean, you might as well give it to him. You noted the defensive run saved. All his metrics are incredible. He is a very, very athletic. Watching Kiermaier, his first step is great. His acceleration is great. Base hit. It draws Yelich over into the corner. Off his glove. Round 3rd. Souza on his way home, and he scores. And Evan Longoria has driven in 2. Tonight has not started well for Kyle Barraclough.
Boy, fastball. We saw him hit the Jose Fernandez fastball back in the first inning. No errors going to be charged there. It's a double all the way. Long way for Yelich to go just to try to knock it down.
Sizemore 2 more hits tonight.
It's been about 6 days since Barraclough has worked.
Mike Dunn. Seven straight now for Sizemore. Soft fly ball. Yelich coming. And the first out of the bottom of the 7th. That brings up catcher JP Arancibia. Well, some interesting stuff going on in the American League West with the Angels off to a 1-0 start over Texas. In the West, the Rangers sit on top of the heap. Houston's 2.5 back. And the Angels are 3 back, but of course that means the wild card is tight as well. And Arancibia swings and misses. In that wild card, the Angels were in that number 2 spot for a day, and now are a half game back of Houston. And Houston 2.5 back of the Yankees. Yankees have that first wild card spot. So with that being said, and Minnesota, you can't forget the Twins. They're a 1.5 games back. There's your wild card on the right. That being said, tonight, Angels 1-0 over Texas. That's in Arlington. Minnesota's trailing Cleveland 2-1 in the 8th in Cleveland. It's a game obviously Minnesota needs to win. Righty, lefty. Colomé the righty.
Cedeno was up earlier.
Or to his right, and that one gets by him as well. Into right field. It's not been a great night for Justin Bour at first base.
Yeah, a couple of times Justin Bour's had to move to his right and to his backhand, and each time he's had trouble. High hop. I'm not sure he got a glove. Didn't even get a glove on that.
He's got it. I mean, that's a ball that can't get through the infield, really. With a runner at second base.
One thing you're always told with a runner at second in that situation, if you can't catch it, knock it down. Keep it in the infield, at least the run from second doesn't score.
West Kendall Toyota call to the bullpen. Double by Evan Longoria, and Aaron Sevia's grounder that sneaks under the glove of Justin Bohr, and it goes for an RBI single. So 2 runs across. Mike Dunn is in. James Loney is up. And Dunn gets a strike with a fastball to Loney. He's got 2 hits. The Rays have 14 hits in this ball game. A couple doubles and a homer are the extra base hits. Everything else singles.
Everybody but Beckham and Franklin has at least 1 hit.
That's a base hit, and it falls in front of Yelich, who picks it up. That's a 4th hit of the bottom of the 7th.
Beckham just happy to see Jose Fernandez out of it.
Without question. Beckham was a third of Jose's strikeouts on the night, and he punched out 3 times. On the ground, it's fair. Prado to the bag, and that's it. Nice play by Martin Prado. Aaron Sevia is out at third. Here comes Kiermaier.
You know, you have the possibility of another runner, another guy who hits this ball, and Martin Prado might have a double play, but Beckham runs real well, and Martin Prado knows that, so he wisely took the out and held on to the ball.
Kiermaier, we were talking about gold gloves. Only one other outfielder in Rays history has won one. And that was Carl Crawford in 2010. Kiermaier, and it was different when Crawford won his. Crawford, a left fielder. That's back when they just named 3 outfielders regardless of position. Now they go left, center, and right. Last year Kiermaier was moved all around. Desmond Jennings played center a lot, but Kiermaier's been in center all season, so the year he's had, I would be stunned if he doesn't win.
I would be questioning the system if he doesn't win one. I know the American League East has another terrific center fielder, Adam Jones of Baltimore.
He's good, but I mean, Kiermaier's had an off-the-chart season.
Yes, he has.
That's another hit. Yelich over for round third, and holding there is Loney. Quick throw behind him, and he's safe. Bag's loaded now. 3 hits for Kiermaier. Marlins taking a peek to see if Loney did get back. It's like he was back.
Good job by Yelich to keep that ball down, hit the cutoff man. You see what can happen, the possibilities.
Oh, they're going to check it. They may have a better angle than we just saw. From that quick glance, Tommy, what did you think?
Look, the quick glance to me looked like he had his foot on the bag when he was tagged. From the angle we saw.
This was the angle we saw. Is that definitive to overturn?
Doesn't look like it.
Jerry Davis with the headphones on. You know, I think the next step for Major League Baseball is in some sort of, sponsorship. Maybe the Beats by Dre headphones next year for the umpires, right?
That's the kind of headphones they should have, and then that would be a great ad.
Yeah, I mean, a great cross promotion.
The Rays have the bases loaded. They do not have a grand slam this year.
This is not a bad time to gamble on a call like this, though. You're late. Now the umpires, at their choice, can go to replay after the 7th. So if you're going to use one to try to get out of this, that's a better angle, but maybe not close enough to see. Now remember, in New York, they have not only the Rays television, Marlins television, but also some of their own cameras that they can look at. With all of those looks synced to time. I like the guy in the middle there with the MLB.TV polo on.
Well, he stands there to give the official look. The official MLB look.
Look, he's got the 2 little control packs on his belt. He's got the MLB at-bat cap. Now would be a good time to do an MLB at-bat drop-in.
We should have saved it. We could have done it now.
Or the MLB.TV drop-in. Yeah, maybe tomorrow. But the call stands. I mean, can you imagine the read on that? Just like Gus, he's got MLB.TV. And he's ready for the postseason. And you can too. Log on to MLB.TV. Here's Franklin, and he's 0 for 3. So Miami loses their challenge, but as we noted, at this stage of the game, the umpires can go to replay if they feel it's close enough. And an umpire can take a manager's suggestion or an urging in consideration.
Mike Dunn trying to get this right-handed bat. Franklin a switch hitter. The 2 lefties singled against Dunn, Loney, and Kiermaier.
Strike 3 call. Now goes Franklin. But the Rays add 2. This game goes to the 8th. It's 4-1.
To Evan Longoria, he hit one deep, his 21st home run of the year. That gave the Rays a 1-0 lead. They picked up another run, a guy who's been hot driving in runs, Grady Sizemore. So 2-0 going to the 5th. Ichiro with a man at third is able to get a sac fly down that left field line. Ozuna coming in to score. But in the 7th inning, Longoria again, this time a single. And that gives the Rays their 3rd run. Aaron Sebia sneaks one through the right side for their 4th run. The Tampa Bay Rays have 4 runs on 16 base hits in this one tonight.
Let's check in with Jessica Blaylock. Jess?
Well, yeah, guys, D. Gordon's still in the midst of a batting race and chasing after a stolen bases title. I had a chance to talk to D, ask him whether or not he thinks about these potential achievements when he's at the plate or on base, and he says he tries really hard not to. Instead, he focuses on putting together good at-bats and trying to do whatever he can to help out his team. And, guys, you've talked about this throughout the course of the game. D still 2nd in Major League Baseball as far as stolen bases, and he and Bryce Harper, a razor-thin margin between their batting averages.
Yeah, you're right, Jess. Harper has a single, and the Nationals 1-0 lead over Atlanta. He's 1 for 3. And so Harper's average at 331. D's sitting at 329. Mikey Matuk out and left. And Mikey Matuk will run under this one and make the catch. We apologize for the language that our crowd mic picked up. Tommy and I will clean it up. Xavier Cedeno on the mound for the Rays.
Fortunately, I don't think I've had to do that yet, have I?
No. That is fortunate. That is fortunate.
That's a career saver.
Yes, just blame it on the crowd mic. Hey, some guy that sounded like me.
You're that guy yelling in the stands.
Yelich 0 for 3. And Cedeno bounces one to the plate. It's been a frustrating night for the Marlin hitters, and easy to see the reason why, and that is Jake Odorizzi. Odorizzi in 7 innings, 4 hits, a run. It was unearned, 2 walks and 7 strikeouts. The Rays actually scored him some runs. He's been looking for run support all year. He'll get some tonight. He's in line for the win. And the Marlins in danger not only of getting swept, but also losing another game on the road, and on the road in an American League ballpark. 2 things that they've done with much frequency this year.
Well, if they lose this one tonight, they will have gone 1-5 against the Rays this year. It's been such a disjointed 6-game series, though.
Oh, you're right about that. There's not a
April 10th, 11th, and 12th.
You know, not a whole lot of carryover from early April to early October.
You know, and it took a wild 10-inning, 10-9 win for the Marlins' only win against Tampa Bay.
Prado takes a strike. Martin Prado walks. He's flied out, popped out. Little bouncer, and it gets by the mound. Beckham streaks in, bare hands, and makes a nice play.
Well, Tim Beckham has had a rough night offensively, but made up a little bit for it with this play. Squibber, end of the bat, and you know that ball had some funny spin, and he still was able to get it barehanded and complete the play.
So Justin Bour comes up. He's flied out twice and popped out. No swing. 1-0 to board. We had some emailers last night who wanted to know why Justin Bourne does not use batting gloves. Talked to Justin a couple times about it. He just likes the bare hand feel. Got to see a few more of those guys in the league now. Colomé, the righty, is up. Yelich still at second. One and two. Got him. Holding on is Aaron Sebia. Down goes Bohr. Cedeno a scoreless 8th. MLB.TV and MLB at Bat. Download the app at MLB.com/@bat. It gets you everything you need. Radio broadcasts, highlights, up to the moment highlights, pitch tracking widgets. You can watch games whole season. You might be able to get one of those spiffy polos that say replay on the back. Just log on, MLB.com/@bat. Tell them Gus sent you. And Miami makes a pitching change. Here is Brian Morris. Tropicana Field is home of the Rays, and a breaking ball from Morris is a strike. This guy's been a tough out the whole series. John Chaso, he's 2 for 4. This, of course, a franchise where Dan Jennings was in the front office before arriving in Miami. And the offices here, some of the baseball offices are actually up in left field. And that's above the first level of seats in left. Nobody home right now. Everybody's out at the ball game. And you can see it's a view down onto the field. It's a high pop. And Yelich is there who makes the catch. Now, Jennings today was talking about his early years here. In his first year here, his family was still back in Alabama. And he would, since his family wasn't here, and at times one of his sons would be here, he would stay late at the office because it really wasn't, you know, hey, he's new on the job, wanted to make a good impression. And he said one night he was here and he heard this big ruckus, as he calls it, going on out on the field. And there was a heavy metal band that was setting up their gear. And they weren't giving a concert, but they were rehearsing. And so Jennings went down on the field to look at it and see what was going on. And he struck up a conversation with some guys in the band. He didn't recognize the band. He was more into country music at the time. That went in the air. And Bohr is there. When one of the band members asked him, hey, you want to come up and help us? And Jennings informed him he had no musical ability and he couldn't play any of the instruments. They said, well, no, you can help us. And they got him up on stage and they said, here, just pull this rope when we tell you to pull the rope. And it was attached to a huge bell. And his job was to pull the rope, right? Ring the bell. It was AC/DC. And this is where they would rehearse and practice before they went out on the road. So DJ was the guy that rang the bell during rehearsal.
Bet he knows who AC/DC is now.
Yes, he does. Breaky ball misses down low to Evan Longoria. Morris gets a strike.
What you're trying to say is they shook him all night long.
Well, I mean, it's interesting that a group like that would actually rehearse in a stadium, not just in some sound hall or some warehouse. They wanted to get the stadium effect.
Probably to get the effect.
Yeah,
of the stadium.
Longoria, busy night, RBI double, solo homer. We'll count 3-2. Miami down 4-1. Marcelo Zuna, JT Realmuto, Tomas Talis coming up. Ozuna calls for it and makes the catch. Nice little hop. Morris, an uneventful 8th. To the 9th, it's 4-1 Rays. Florida Honda dealers. And by Kubota. For more information or to find a participating dealer, go to FloridaKubotAdealers.com. 4-1 Rays. Brad Boxberger makes his 3rd appearance of this series. He's been busy this year. He's recorded a save in his last 6 appearances.
He's been busy in this series. Saves in the first 2 games. And also trying to nail down his 41st save, which would put him in the lead in the American League. Marlins were able to touch him up for a run last night, though.
And so here he is, and he's got a pretty soft landing, much like last night. He had a 3-run lead to protect. Miami got a run against him last night. And Ozuna scorches one. Beckham on his stomach gets the out. That is a major league play off a really sharp ground ball.
Well, you can see how quick this infield is. His turn. He actually picked that ball almost by him, behind him. He's made 2 terrific plays the last couple of innings.
JT Realmuto. Realmuto has struck out twice and has singled. Realmuto to center. Kiermaier at the track, 2 down. Checkers presents Marlins Live. Clubhouse reaction. Highlights. Craig and Carl. Not necessarily in that order.
I think Craig and Carl are back from their fine dining.
Might not be. I mean, this game may run a little short. Talise. And the start is the DH. One and 2.
At least part of that inning when the Marlins scored their run. He had a base hit. Eventually, Ichiro would get the sacrifice fly.
That one fouled back to the screen. By the way, before we leave the air, just to update you, Bryce Harper did get a hit. 1 for 4 was Harper, or is Harper. That game's in the 8th. 331 average. D. Gordon an 0 for 4. He's dipped to 329. That is strike 3 call. No change up. Floats in. Gets Talise. And the Rays sweep the Marlins here in St. Petersburg. Jake Odorizzi and a pair of relievers. Boxberger now leads the American League by himself. 41 saves. Bypassing Houston Street, who has 40. 16 hits for Tampa Bay. 4-1. An impressive win for the Rays and a sweep. Marlins Live is next.